Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and looking to be a part of the conversation. Folks, let's get into it. We got some great discussions up for you. First and foremost, more arrests are expected in that Montgomery Riverboat Brawl. I'm going to share with you what Mr. Mayor Stephen Reed, the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, had to say yesterday in an interview about the latest developments in that story. We'll share that with you in a moment. Also, let's talk about what's happening in Nebraska. Is the state of Nebraska setting itself up to be the next Florida, as they are now looking to try to hold back and try to redirect the conversation around race, LGBTQ plus issues, and social emotional learning in schools? I'm going to share with you about that. I'm going to be checking in with my brother Sinedu Akwafor to give us the latest on that. Also, for the big cultural conversation, peace, love, and reparations, there's going to be a big unity rally here in Los Angeles this weekend in the historic Leimert Park about reparations. We're going to be checking in with the organizers, Tara Perry and Brother Cam Howard, to give us the latest on that conversation. So make sure y'all stick around for that. So that's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Get ready to rock and roll. Get ready to join us in the discussion. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the discussion. I'm so happy to have you join me today as we have these very, very important conversations about a number of things, from politics down to culture. And of course, we're going to talk about reparations, which is our big culture convo for today. We're going to talk about reparations in a little bit. But folks, we make sure that you join us in the conversation. We're streaming on many platforms, including blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. Also on Amazon News on Roku television. So make sure that you can check us out. You can check us out there on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Roku. Just ask Alexa to pull up Black Star Network and boom, Black news and media. It's coming right at you. That's right, folks. There we go. So make sure y'all check that out on Amazon News and Roku television. Now, we're also streaming on social media platforms, Facebook, where you can find us. Make sure you go under Roland Martin's Facebook page. Yeah. And we are streaming on YouTube, where you can find us under Roland Martin's YouTube page. And that's where you can join the conversation as being part of our online culture crew. We would love to hear from you as we have these conversations. And I say, big shout out to my online culture crew. I see y'all checking in already. You got over 300 people checking in right now. Big shout out to my sister, Lori Parks. Big shout out to Robin Welch. My sister, Tiana. Hey, culture crew. Hey, Tiana. Hey, Robin. Hello, Lori. Karen Hassel, thank you so much for checking in. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. Pauline, my sister. Hello from Cleveland. Hello, Pauline. Got my brother Robert Shields. What it do, good people? What it do? It do everything, brother Robert. Wait till the conversation. Love to connect with you, bro. My pastor, Pastor Damon Blissett, is in the building. That's right. Hey, kings and queens. Pastor Damon Blissett is the official pastor of the Block Church. So you don't want to mess with Pastor Damon. He will block you. Zena Bennett, good to see you. Hello, good to see you. Mocha Mima Media. Hey, y'all. Mocha, thank you so much. Good to connect with you once again. Rastafari Ann, hello. How are you? Good to connect with you. Miss Goddess K. Yep. Yeah, people live in Nebraska, Miss Goddess K. Black folks live in Nebraska, yeah. We'll talk about that. Lol in Ethiopia. Ethiopia is checking in all the way from the continent. Lol in. Lol, thank you so much for representing the motherland. We truly appreciate you. Conscious Thought, my brother, good afternoon, big bro. Good to connect with you. You don't like my music, my God, thank you. Ahoy, ahoy. So many of you are checking in. Velma Wingfield, thank you so much. Zena Bennett, stay woke. Of course, we ain't falling asleep over here, Zena. Zena, thank you so much. Rolanda W. Yes, yes. People live in Nebraska. Black people do too. I'm a black woman. Omaha, Nebraska is in the building. Oh my goodness. Cindy D, good to see you. And Will Swapshire Crawford from Nebraska. Come on, man. Nebraska, stand up today. We're going to talk a little bit about it. And of course, my big brother, Willie Frazier. Thank you so much for checking in, big bro. Good to connect with you, and I'd love to hear from you. Folks, join us in the conversation again. We're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook, and you can join us in the conversation in a few moments. All right, let me bring in my brother, the man who I have so much love and respect for. He's doing some fantastic work in activism, advocacy. He's been working in diversity, equity, inclusion, and we're happy to have him as one of our great crew members here on The Culture. My brother Shanedu Wakor for Shanedu. Good afternoon, bro. How are you? There we go. How you feeling, man? Look at you, man. Look at you. Look at your hair. You got your joint. Look at you. All right, Shanedu, let's jump right into it, bro. Look, this situation in Montgomery is just keeps unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. More arrests have been made, will be expected to be made in the Montgomery Brawl, brother Shanedu. Let me share with you this latest from NBC News as they talk about two suspects facing misdemeanor assault charges. Take a look at this, folks. Two suspects facing misdemeanor assault charges after a group of white men attacked a black dock worker in a brawl in the Montgomery riverfront. They surrendered to police yesterday. Alan Todd, 23 years old, and Zachary Shipman, 25, turned themselves in to face charges of third-degree assault. According to the spokesman for the Montgomery Police Department, they said that in a statement yesterday. But police are expected to bring more charges in the incident, but hate crime charges are still not expected. This is coming from the chief of police, Chief Albert. He's saying that there are no hate crime charges as of yet, but they're still doing some investigation. Brother Shanedu, what do you make of this as this whole thing continues to unfold? They have already arrested a little more, I think it was like 13 people that I've seen so far. They already arrested. Social media has Black Twitter and Black Instagram has already gone on the prowl. I saw a couple of folks posting names and pictures. Man, they get woof. Black folks would dig in your bag for real to find out who you are and where you live and what you like to eat. So what do you make of this as we're talking about the next steps or, the recovery after this and how we should have this conversation about race relations and all of that?
I would be a liar if I said I didn't enjoy the
brouhaha
that took place on that dock. But because it was a very emotional experience to watch it for multiple reasons. Seeing Black folks stick up for each other. I don't know where this is going to go legally. I don't know where this is going to go as it pertains to charges. And that's what I think that we need to pay attention to. I think it was very fun and exciting that first day, everybody sharing, it was cool. The Aquaman jokes, all of it. Yeah, that's fine. But when it comes down to it, remember that we're also dealing with a criminal justice system that has never been just, nor has it been favorable to people who look like us. So I really want to just continue to track this because it has been my experience that whiteness doesn't take well to defeat. So I think we all need to be keen and on our toes and watch this to make sure that this goes down in the way that it should. And furthermore, for myself and my fellow Black brothers, sisters, cousins, I think it was a beautiful display of Black defense. And I just want us to all take that into consideration as we also move towards Black offense as well. Black offense is just as beautiful as Black defense.
Right, absolutely. I would agree. Ramos Remastered, you checked in. Good to hear from you, Ramos. You said I keep rewatching it, just like Shanedu. I keep rewatching it because the employee just holds the guys off at first. He didn't even throw hands until nearly a minute after tossing his hat. So it just goes to show you that he was not the aggressor in this situation. But it is interesting to see how it's all playing out. And I'm going back to a point that I made with my sister Suzette Speaks yesterday about, the fact that the police department has not decided to charge anybody just yet, as putting it in the category of a hate crime. Now, they have said that they are looking or rather investigating if racial epithets and slurs were used in the course of this before this whole situation kicked off. But it's a lot of footage that they have to kind of comb through, Brother Shanadu, to
Sure.
get to that place, right? And I think especially for these two black men, I'm talking about the chief of police in Montgomery, Chief Albert, and I'm talking about Mayor Stephen Reed. These two black men, two powerful and influential positions, presiding over a situation like this, they are trying to do their best to walk the fine line of making sure they maintain similar sense of law and order, and should they do some sense of not jumping to conclusions on everything, right? I think that's the very fine place that we're finding ourselves in this situation.
Right. But I think what everybody should focus on in that sense is we don't need to jump to conclusion, but you know what we can jump to?
What?
Rules that were not adhered to. Before even a single punch was thrown, that boat should have not been where that boat was. That is number one. So I think they need to be building their case off of that premise first, that these folks, even before engaging with the dock worker, these folks were breaking rules, breaking the law of
From the
battleground.
beginning.
And that is most important. That should be the driving force. Because when you say, when a police officer catches somebody with weed or whatever back in the day, and somehow now, it's this idea that they now come up because weed is an illegal drug. They'll say intention to sell, intention to distribute, right?
Right.
Based on their law. So if we're following that kind of mindset, from the moment that they broke the rules, broke the law, we have to assume that they had intentions to be ne'er-do-wells and do nefarious things from there, which they then did.
Absolutely. Let me go take it to a couple of more comments from the crew, and then we're going to take a quick pause. Will Swapshire, Will, you said, I think what happened was true justice. It was true justice for the moment, but I'm like you, Sinead. I'm trying to stay cautiously optimistic, bro. Cautiously optimistic that this situation is going to play out well in the legal space.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be. I think that's where our focus needs to be at this point. Like, how will this situation play out? Ms. Goddess K, you checked in. You said we know we are not going to see justice in the courtroom. Sinead, brother, I hope that's not the case, Ms. Goddess K. I really hope that's not the case. I hope that we do see some justice in the courtroom. And I'm going back to the point you just made, Sinead. Laws and there were violations before a single punch, before a single shove. They were in the wrong from the very, very beginning.
Yep.
So some people have even gone on to say that this is really more a stand your ground case more so than anything else. So it is going to be interesting to see how the courts handle this. C. Gardner, you checked in. Thank you for doing that, Goddess K. C. Gardner, you say he is the co-pilot, not a security guard. Right. The co-captain, actually. Not a security guard. Absolutely. So we got to put some respect on his name, Sinead. That man is the co-captain. And he's not just some, rent-a-cop, quote unquote. You don't like my music. You checked in and said they wouldn't have disobeyed or assaulted a white authority like that. I mean, of course not.
Nope.
Of course not. I think that's very clear.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I think that's very clear. The thing is, and I think that this is something that even the Mayor Reed and Chief Albert have to both, I think they both know that it was racially motivated, but they can't just come out and say it. You got to prove that. Because once you put something in terms of a hate crime, that label, then it becomes a federal situation, a federal offense, not just a state situation, right? If you say that they committed a hate crime, then that takes on a whole different monster. You know what I'm saying? That takes on a much more weightier case. So I think that is part of the reason why we're seeing sort of kind of the very not tepid, but they're being very careful about how this case is being handled. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, We're going to continue the conversation. I'm going to share with you what Mayor Stephen Reed had to say yesterday in an interview about where we are with this case, and of course, more conversation about it with our brother Sinedu and you. Stay with us. We're just getting started here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been talking about more arrests being made in the Montgomery Riverside Riverboat Brawl that took place last weekend. More arrests have been made. 2 white men have decided to step forward to be arrested on this situation. And more arrests, according to the police, more arrests can be expected as police are still trying to get to the bottom of this situation, and more importantly, trying to render justice in this situation. Folks, we've been checking in with my brother Sinedu Wakofor, who is a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist. I'm going to bring my brother back into the frame. Sinedu, when we look at this situation, and Will Swatshire, he put out he posted this in the chat, and Will, I appreciate you, and I agree with you on this, Will. You said if you truly look at the videos and individuals involved, there was definitely a racial injustice because you saw white bystanders jump into the situation from what it truly looks to be seen. Right. So you saw the initial brawl between the black co-captain and some white men, some of the white patrons. Then you see the woman, she just comes out of there, she hits the brother, and she even spits at the brother. And I saw activist Sean King posted this. He posted her name, everything on Instagram. And trying to make sure that some justice come down on her for her, spitting on a man in the course of and she wasn't even involved. She just walked over, saw the situation, and just took a swipe at the brother. So we're seeing that. And like Will said, we're seeing that level of involvement. So it is going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting to see, Brother Shanadu, what criteria the police department is going to use to determine whether this is racial or not.
Yeah, and I would be, I don't know if this is going too far or maybe not far enough. I would be interested in hearing what, psychologists believe on this matter, because from watching it, I don't have a background in psychology, but the first thing I thought of, yes, these people were possibly inebriated, but I think that they thought that what they were doing was right. Like they have the right to do what they're doing. And we've seen this before with whiteness presenting itself as the authority, and that they have the right to infringe on anything because they are dominant and they are in charge. And that is the type of vibrations that I got from that video, where to me, it seemed as if these folks were looking at this black man, even in a sense of, how dare you fight back?
Right.
How dare you even try?
Yeah, that's true.
And I just kept watching. I said, even as the black folks started to descend on that dock, I just got the spirit that these folks were, because I wonder if all of those black folks who came to help, if they were originally just happenstance assembled on that dock, would those people have charged? And I doubt it. So
no.
I want to know what folks who are in maybe psychology, sociology, what they're thinking, what the mindset is behind, because we've seen this in far too many cases. And I do want to know, and I also want to know the background of these people, because it has been my experience, and you all have experienced this as well. Every time an unarmed black man is killed by police, the first thing that we see on the news is they try to tell the story of who this person was before, that they were involved in thuggery and so on and so forth. So I want all the smoke. I want black people to get all the information.
Hey, bro, I'm with you right there. And I think that it is important that we also know what their professions are. Y'all remember, Sinead, do you remember when they had the rally in Charlottesville? Oh, yeah. And they found out it was a bunch of political officials, police officials, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. January 6th happened. They found out it was political officials, police officials, all types of people who have power and influence. These are the people that you want to call out. These are you want to make them look silly as hell as a result of their involvement in some stupid racist stuff like this. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you, Will, for bringing that point up. So the piece about the woman spitting on the brother, everybody is saying that Karen Hassel, you said that's assault. That's probably why she got whacked with the chair. I don't know if I didn't see the one. I don't know if she was the same person. I'm not sure if that's the same person, Karen, but
Karen must have watched.
Karen been watching. She got so many different videos. Karen, you got to share with us. Real Brooklyn, you said there was one white kid that tried to help the brother. They pushed him away. I wonder who that person was. Absolutely. Conscious Thoughts, you said spitting is assault. Absolutely. Let me tell y'all something what we're not going to do. So maybe you can call me names and you can throw a swing, but the moment you spit on me, bro,
it's over.
Hey, bro, I don't have no remorse. Mm-hmm. No remorse. Mm-hmm. You get that ass whipped. Guess what I ain't gonna do? Cry a damn crocodile tear. All right, let me do this. Let me share with you what Mayor Stephen Reed had to say in regards to the latest developments of this case. He did a conversation on MSNBC yesterday. Check this out, y'all.
Mayor Stephen Reed. Mayor, thanks for taking the time. We heard Sam say it. I know you have said the investigation is still ongoing. Do you expect more charges against more people?
I think it's possible. Certainly as we continue this investigation, we're asking all witnesses and anyone that may have additional information to work with the police, and that's helped us so far get to this point to where we could issue those warrants and see one person come in and another two who should be coming in before the end of the day. So I think anything is possible as this investigation continues. I mean, we're leaving no stone unturned, and we're very intently looking at all facets of this case. We understand that FBI has a federal threshold of hate crime that may differ from what many of us who've seen the video may think ourselves. But we're going to look at this from a legal angle and move forward from there.
All right, that was Mayor Stephen Reed, the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, sharing his thoughts on how the investigation is going to move forward. Anything stick out for you listening to Mayor Reed on that, Brother Shanadu?
Yes, I feel like that brother is sharp, and I feel like that brother is doing due process. He wants to say, like you said, he wants to go through this very methodically to make sure that we're following the right process. I don't know that brother, but I do believe that I think he believes what we all believe. But we know the game that we're playing in the country that we're playing it. So he has to say what he has to say, and he said it very well, very eloquently, very to the point. And I love that no stone or all stones will be unturned. I love that because we want all of it. We want all of it. I want there to be things that we haven't even seen that they know that they're bringing. If there's any type of video camera surveillance, because we mostly know what we know based on a personal camera. So I want to see it all, and I want to hear it all, and I want to hear the analysis of how they came to the conclusion that we all know that should be.
Absolutely. Here's the big thing, and I think this is one of those moments, Brother Shanadu, and you tell me if I'm wrong, and crew, y'all tell me if I'm wrong and think it is. This is probably one of those cases where we really do have to wait until the process plays itself out.
Mm-hmm.
We just gotta wait till the process plays. The situation happened. We know that there are arrests being made. We know that there's still an investigation on a number of looking through the footage and everything. But I feel like this is one of those cases we gotta wait till the process plays out. Now, that's on the legal side. That falls in the hands of Mayor Stephen Reed and Chief Albert of the Montgomery Police Department. For us, y'all remember yesterday I said it, and Conscious thought you brought it up today. Keep that same energy. So if this is the moment, then we need to keep that same energy. So there is a role that we can play. We don't have to be, Shanadu, innocent bystanders, just people that just sharing a video, people that just like, rah, this is good. I'm saying let's use this as an inflection point. Let's use this as an inspirational point, however you want to use it, but let's use it to motivate people to get involved. There's still a lot of work. And what I want, the other angle that we plan to look at on this, on the show is what's going to be the move from Black Montgomery. That's going to be the next step. And there's already some conversation about how Black Montgomery feels about this whole thing, right? So we need to take the energy and momentum, the talk around this situation, and let's divert it into some other places. Because look, Montgomery needs to come up. Montgomery needs to pay for all of the cardinal sins that it has done to Black people. So what does that look like? What does that feel like? How should Montgomery experience that, especially when you have two Black men sitting in the position of power and influence? So there's some things that we can wait for them to do, bro, but then there's some things that we can do as the people, as the constituents of the city, of the country around this issue.
Absolutely, and that's why I made that point. It was very fun to watch that Black defense, but I'm telling you, Black offense looks even better. Sometimes it's not as sexy as when it's sold, but I promise you, it looks just as better. It looks just as nice, and it's just as effective.
Absolutely.
Also, I do want to say this because I think this is not being said enough. From my vantage point, I've seen a lot of these videos. These were Black women who are taking these videos. Shout out to our Black queens. Shout out to them recording. Shout out to them narrating and annotating what was happening in real time, because I don't think people understand the importance of just that act in itself. Because if no one did that, they could have sworn that this never happened. And I think one of the people who was involved, he tried to pretend based on one of the video angles that he was never trying to be involved. And our Black community said, we have you on multiple angles being an aggressor. And I think that's why it's important, even though recording is not all you can do, but if you're not going to do anything, that is the least you can do. And I'm very proud of the Black sisters. I'm not saying that there weren't Black brothers involved, but what I saw was Black sisters who were recording and who were narrating. Again, that narration, I'm a little visually impaired, but that narration actually helped me to understand when the camera was too far back to understand what was happening. So I really
absolutely
that, and that would be very, very useful in court.
Absolutely. And I'm like my sister, Addie Wilson. Addie, you checked in and you said, and we want the audio. We all want to hear when you call that black man that N-word. So we can all just go to sleep at night knowing just some justice came rolling down the hills. Addie, thank you so much. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the state of Nebraska, how some folks are fearing that it may be the next battleground around the issues of race, LGBTQ plus issues, and social emotional learning. I'm going to share with you the latest on that. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let's take just a few minutes to bring you up to speed on the latest happening out of the state of Nebraska, as some people are fearing that it may become the next battleground state to discuss race, LGBTQ plus issues, and so much more in the classroom. Per one senator out of Nebraska who is doing his part, a GOP member, who's doing his part to ensure that students are not fully prepared for the world. Now, this is the situation here, folks, that there's social emotional learning, or what they call SEL, is becoming a flashpoint for a number of conservatives in Nebraska because they are looking to determine how the school system is going to deal with race, LGBTQ plus issues, and other issues that other Republican states like Florida have handled or has been dealing with. So this comes out of the group. Take a look, folks. This is from Senator David Merman, who is a conservative chairman of the Nebraska Legislature's Education Committee. He held a hearing that mostly discussed the use in schools of social emotional learning, or SEL, that has become a lightning rod among conservatives who say schools use it to promote progressive ideas about race, gender, and sexuality, and that a focus on a student's well-being takes attention away from academics. Look, check this out. He said the decades-old school concept seeks to teach students how to manage their let me just share this. The concept seeks to teach students how to manage their emotions, make good decisions, share, and collaborate. But several witnesses invited by Mr. Merman made far-fetched claims that it's being used to teach critical race theory in public schools. It's part of a conspiracy to mine private student data, and it's even being used as a form of mind control. Come on, man. Social emotional learning, SEL, folks. Look, let me tell you what the big, and I want to bring my brother Shanedu back into this. Let me tell you what the big currency that I'm seeing is. The big currency now, and Shanedu, you work in human resources, so you tell me if I'm off or not. But I see that the big currency now is having, being socially conscious, socially aware, emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent, having the skills to be able to work around people, know how to think, move, think critically. These are skills these are life skills, as they call it, life skills. This is not just about whether you're black or white, your economic background, and all these. These are simple life skills. Whereas before, there's a big shift where the school system used to talk about the tangible skills, reading, writing, arithmetic, those things. Now we're in a time frame where if you don't know how to engage people, if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to go into a room and make sure that you know how to navigate within various spaces, you're not going to be an asset for anybody, whether it's a company or school, whatever. And you're talking about, and this is something that schools should be teaching students, but in the state of Nebraska, bro, they want to take that and they twisting that into something else. What in the Nebraska is going on, bro? Why is there this attack on skills and on the ways for students to be better? If it ain't about race, it's about social emotional learning. If it ain't about social emotional learning, it's about LGBTQ issues. It's like some of these folks want to keep our children back in the 50s, and they're content with that, bro.
Well, let's start here. More social emotional learning is needed because, and I think the reason why folks are against that is because when you don't have that, then when you disrespect and denigrate people, you don't have to feel anything about that, like we saw on the dock when those people attacked that co-captain. When you take away those social emotional learning about things that are actually presently happening in your face, and it's not new. It's just that we're taking more of an emotional approach these days. I mean, were the kids not in school doing duck and cover based on what was going on in society in preparations for things that were happening as it pertained to the war and the threat of being bombed? What is the difference between doing that than talking about the things that these kids are seeing that is taking place, that is affecting how they learn, where they live, who their parents love or who they may love? I think America has to take a really good look at itself when it comes to this idea of quote unquote social emotional learning. And it's funny to me, that term, because there's so much lack of emotion in our society, in our people. And I know that from being a DEI practitioner, because I am the one trying to teach the adults, and I say adults meaning people who are older than me, how to be empathetic and how emotional cognizance is important for the bottom line in the business. So I find it funny that this grouping, what's going on in Nebraska, and I said this when we talked some months ago, if everything goes well in Florida with what they're doing, there will be control copies and control pastes. And we saw that with Greg Abbott in Texas, and now it's going up in Nebraska. And it's for lack of better words, it's just fucking ridiculous, if you ask me.
Oh, it's beyond ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. Addie, you checked in, Addie Wilson, you said we used to get an actual grade and citizenship, that's equivalent to SEL. How is learning how to relate to others and regulate emotions a bad thing? Matter of fact, we need to learn how to regulate emotions. Like, I don't know, Addie, why it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, nor do I know that you don't think it's a bad thing. But at the end of the day, apparently, we just want to be dysregulated, highly emotional, or emotionally, I don't know, with bankrupt people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, and let me tell you something. A lot of if you look at, just trying to connect the dots here for folks, if you look at what goes on in the minds of children who commit violence, a lot of it is dealing with the fact that they do not know how to regulate themselves, self-regulation. They do not know how to process their emotions. And guess what? We see that in grown-ass men and women too. When they get older, that same tendency is still present in their personality, in who they are, in their character development. This is like I said, this stuff is way more, I think, in some cases, way more important than just learning about just simple history stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about human development, not just academics, quote unquote. You're talking about character development, not just learning to remember things for a test. It's a different level of understanding. It's a different level of cultivation, which I think is important. So Addie, I appreciate you for that. Janelle, my sister, you said it's like they are terrified of our children learning how to think critically, empathize with others, and being socially resilient. How do we break through that, Sinead? How do we make sure that that is not the case? And Janelle, I agree with you 1000%. How do we change that?
I hate to say this, but somebody has to. We have to stop making this only a course or a ideology that just the schools have to push. Families need to be taking investment into this as well. And I think that's the thing. Like, the school is basically building and raising these children, and the school is expected to do everything, but it needs to resonate on all levels, because I think when it gets to the school, it's my opinion, it's the easiest for people to shut down. Well, you can shut it down at the school because you're not doing it at home. And I think when I look at stuff like January 6th, and even myself as a 30, soon to be 31-year-old man, and I think about my emotional intelligence or lack thereof, we are in this generation where depression, these kids are more depressed than adults. And if kids are becoming depressed and they haven't even seen student loans, interest rates, mortgage, what the hell happens when they get older? So I think
Lord, bro,
approaching this at a younger stage, like everything else in school, is preparatory. And I don't think this is a negotiable thing to discuss, because if we don't allow children to be able to express their emotions and talk about things and be able to process, you know what you get? You get adults eventually that do the shit that we saw on January 6th, when they don't know how to effing express what the hell is going on in their minds. And we don't want that. So we need to be careful with what's going on. And moving forward, I would say, parents, you have control in this as well. It's not just about what the school is enforcing. What are you reinforcing in the house? Because most attitudes and behaviors are learned. So we have to make sure, parents, even if you don't have this, maybe it's time you get involved in some of this training or what have you, or this mindset, because your kids need it. And they look to you as their first guide. So they're looking to you first. That is my take.
Absolutely. And you know what? Here's what comes to mind, Brother Sinead, very quickly before we move forward. I was reading the unfortunate story of a 10-year-old little girl who committed suicide. As a Black girl, it's a big story on, I think it was the Griot that I saw it on. 10 years old, committing suicide. The thought that a 10-year-old can say to herself, I'm not needed here, I'm not wanted here, I don't want to be here, going through that whole thought process and then moving out on that act. And you telling me we don't need some social, emotional learning? That we don't need to put an emphasis? Look at, and I'm saying especially for Black children, look at all of the pain and the pressures and all of the stuff. Children know what's going on. You see what I'm saying? They may not know all of the intricacies of the issues, but when mommy comes home, when daddy comes home, or mommy and daddy or grandma come around, or they hear the talk among us as adults, they can feel the weightiness of being Black in America. They can feel the weightiness of hatred. They can feel all of that. And it is so heartbreaking, bro. It's such a heartbreaking situation because a lot of our children are suffering, and a lot of adults suffer in silence because we don't have that skill set. We don't have that foundation to work from. And even for us, there had to be life-altering, life-changing things that had to take place in order for us to, quote unquote, get conscious, get right? So we didn't always get equipped with this level of learning. So if for those who think, bro, really quickly, for those who think that this is some old progressive, liberal type of stuff, no. This is an evolution of where we are in the educational system. The educational system is not strong in America. We know it. Everybody talks about it. But you know what else is not strong? What comes out of the schools? What is the end product once a 12th grader leaves high school to go into college, matriculates into college? What is the end product of the type of person that individual is? That's the important part, because this ain't about just grades on the paper. You can have all the grades on the paper, but you can be just completely miserable on the inside. You don't have any self-love. You don't empathize with people. This is very important stuff. And so, bro, I hope, and we're going to have to talk more about it, but I hope the state of Nebraska, we do some pushback on that. I know that Black folks in Omaha and Lincoln and other areas of the state, but we really do have to just say, you know what, we need to redefine what education really looks like for our people, man. And it starts not just with the 3 R's, but you got to throw in some social emotional learning. You got to throw in the fact that there are other people in the world, like from other communities, whether it's LGBTQ plus or whatever. You got to throw in that you are a part of humanity and not just a student in the classroom.
Absolutely.
All right, brother Sinead, your time has been very well spent, bro. I truly love and appreciate you. And God willing, we will reconnect with you on the other side of next week. Thank you, bro, for joining us.
Inshallah. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. All right, there we go. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. Get ready for our big culture convo, which is up next, talking about reparations. I'm going to be talking to 2 dynamic individuals who are organizing a major unity rally here in Los Angeles to have the conversation about reparation and considering where we are in the state of California and around the country. So that conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Stay with us.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
For decades, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted Black communities and kids with marketing for menthol cigarettes. It's had a devastating impact on Black health. Tobacco use claims 45,000 Black lives every year. It's the #1 cause of preventable death. In the 1950s, less than 10% of Black smokers used menthol cigarettes. Today, it's 85%. Menthol cools and numbs the throat, making it easier for kids to start smoking. Menthol also increases addiction, making it harder for smokers to quit. Menthol cigarettes are a big reason why Black Americans have a harder time quitting smoking and die at higher rates from smoking-related diseases like cancer, heart disease, and stroke. It's time to stop Big Tobacco from profiting off Black lives. An FDA ban on menthol cigarettes will improve Black health, save lives, and protect future generations from addiction. Learn more at tobaccofreekids.org/ban menthol.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation for our second hour of the show. If you missed the first hour, we talked about the latest developments in Montgomery for that riverboat brawl. More arrests are being made. And we also talked a little bit about the state of Nebraska, how Nebraska is starting to fight back against this idea of social emotional learning, race conversations, and LGBTQ plus issues. Folks, we're going to certainly expand the conversation on that in a little bit, but we definitely wanted you to keep your eyes on that. So that happened in the first hour. Make sure you join us on Team Replay. Check us all out on blackstarnetwork.com. We are also streaming on Amazon News 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can get to hear all of the fantastic conversations, and most importantly, you can tune into Black Star Network whenever you get an opportunity. Also, we're streaming right now on Facebook as well as YouTube. Go on to our YouTube page under Roland Martin, and you can join the Culture Crew right now, as there are hundreds of people that are joined in the chat. They're checking us out, being a part of the conversations, and so much more. So we have a lot of ways for you to stay tuned to all that we're talking about. All right, for our next conversation, big culture conversation for today, which is about peace, love, and reparations, how there is a major unity rally that's being scheduled for this weekend here in Los Angeles, down in the historic Leimert Park in South LA, and how there is an effort to make sure that the conversation about reparations stays focused as much as possible. That's the flyer for it. This rally is going to be featuring a number of different speakers, entertainers, and most importantly, the community. So we wanted to talk to the organizers and some of the folks behind this effort. I'm so happy to be joined by my sister, Tara Perry. Tara is an unwavering Los Angeles native. She has been working on the front lines as a civil rights champion, and she's a former elected community council official in South Central. She also has been trained as a paralegal from UCLA, where she uses her legal prowess to battle police brutality, protect Black workers' rights, and more social justice issues. So we're happy to have her joining us for the conversation. Also, we're going to have Mr. Cam Howard. Brother Cam is a national and international reparations scholar and an activist. He's been working in that space for well over 20 years in the grassroots movement to obtain reparations for African descendants in the United States. And from 2006 through 2022, Brother Cam serves as the national co-chair of NCOBRA, which means the National Coalition of Black for Reparations in America. So we want to welcome Brother Cam, my sister Tara, to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Tara, thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for having us, Farajii.
Absolutely. Brother Cam, good to see you, dear brother. How are you, sir?
I'm great, brother, and I too want to appreciate you for having us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Tara, let's first start with you talking about this event. This is a unity rally. This is going to be happening this Saturday, God willing, in Leimert Park down in south of Los Angeles. It is an opportunity to bring a lot of people to one space at one time. I mean, you have to sprinkle in some entertainers. The game is going to be performing. We got Rotimi and other folks, but then you got some state officials that are going to be on hand to talk about this. Let's first talk about the rally, and then the background story is, this is Los Angeles, this is California. We are at the forefront of the conversation about getting reparations, but there are still different schools of thought as to who should get the reparations and who should not be eligible and all of that. So talk to us about this event.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, and also the flyer you posted doesn't have the game on there, but we'll definitely get you an updated flyer. So yes, the game is absolutely our headline, and we're excited about that. A little bit of the background. So anyone who's been following the reparations conversation, especially recently, right? We know that there are different schools of thought, right? There's the lineage base, there's a Pan-African space. Some people feel like if you're just Black, you're entitled to reparations. I'm more of the lineage base, and I believe that people who are descendants of Black Americans, descendants of chattel slavery, are entitled to reparations. But in a meeting, Cam Howard, we did agree on that. Regardless of who we decide gets it, we still need to be organized and we still need to be focused. And so this is that opportunity to create that ability for us to have that conversation in a more realistic manner, in a way that we can get some type of progression in this movement, but we cannot just keep sitting around arguing about who's going to get reparations. There's still work that needs to be done to even be having this conversation on the national level. We're definitely having in California. We're also highlighting the completion of the California Reparations Task Force, right? They did a wonderful job in uncovering the harms that Black Americans in California have undergone in the past 100 years, right? And creating a plan for that redress. But we need to be having this conversation nationally. And that's pretty much hopefully where we go next. I can pass off to Cam too. He can tell you a bit about his experience and how we came about this.
Yeah, Brother Cam, talk to us, because this is, and I hope we've got my brother. Brother Cam, you still with us? All right, looks like we're going to bring him back. But this is, okay, there we go. Brother Cam, I want to get your take on this and help us to understand the dynamics, because just as much as, like I said, California is leading the way in having a more robust conversation about reparations, especially from a major state, there's also embroiled in the conversation about lineage and all of that and those different schools of thought, right? So how should Black folks look at this? Because it's creating an either or situation within our own community where that could potentially lead to more division around something that is supposed to bring us together and to usher in justice. How did we have that conversation, bro?
So that's a great point that you make, and that's really the primary reason that Tara and I came together for this particular concert and unity rally. We understand, and I've been in the movement, as Tara said, for a long time, and we're at a point that we've never been in history. The type of energy, the type of conversation, the type of scholarship, the type of activism that's in the movement for reparations. This is, not since the end of enslavement have we been totally focused on repair and redress for our community. And we see that, having been in the movement, we see that we cannot win at this point if there's continued division, if there's continued strife and contention within our movement. And Tara, she stated she holds a totally different position than I hold on lineage, on what forms reparations should take, on what we call ourselves. But none of that matters if we can't get a reparations commission. We would lose all being divided on these particular issues. And so we have to come together, hold our differences down for a minute, coalesce and unify around the executive order. That's the only way we're going to move reparations forward in this country at this time right now, is to get the president to create a commission through executive order. And it takes all of us on point, no matter, again, what we call ourselves, no matter what form of reparations we want, no matter who we think is eligible for reparations. None of us will get anything if we don't come together and unify around this central mission of an executive order. And I think that's something we can do. And Tara and I are showing America, Black America, that we can do this without compromising on our basic understanding and principles and intentions around reparations.
Very quickly before I take our next pause, Brother Cam and Tara. Brother Cam, I wanted to know, based on your experience, you've been in this for 20 plus years. I've talked to other folks like Dr. Ray Winbush. I've talked to other people about this whole issue of reparations. Did you ever expect, or would you ever thought you would see the day where the reparations has become such a major conversation to get all the way up to the President of the United States, where there's actually the possibility that this might be a more national effort? Did you ever think that would happen?
Oh, of course, that's what I've been working for. We know that, when I started in the movement, there were some elders in the movement who would, when the question was posed, they would say that, no, I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. But I've always believed it. That was kept me moving, working hard, and sacrificing and making sure that I was able to understand the intricacies of this conversation and be able to counter and combat those who are anti-reparations in this country. And so I always had the faith that we would get to this point. However, we had a critical and crucial point that calls for a higher level of political sophistication. And again, that's why Tara and I have came together, joined forces, trying to show Black America that we can do this together. And the only way we're going to do it and take it to the next level if we do it together. So I'm inspired. I'm inspired by our relationship. I'm inspired about the concert and the rally and what's going to come behind that. And I think that we're poised to win, and we will win if we can get everyone to see that this is the way forward.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick pause, Tara and Brother Cam. When I come back, Tara, I would love for you to talk to us about just some of the other voices that we're going to be seeing, because you do have members of the California Reparations Task Force that will be in on hand. You have one state senator, Congresswoman, let me make sure. We have the Congresswoman checking in as well. Let me see. Sheila Jackson. Yeah, I was thinking of another one. Sheila Jackson Lee. She's going to be joining us here in LA. The California Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weaver, is going to be on hand. You got Robin Bruce Simmons, California Reparations Task Force. You got a lot of different policymakers. So when we come forward, I want us to talk a little bit more about that, having them at the table for a major rally and what that looks like. Folks, we want you to join us in the discussion. Post your comments as we're streaming live right now on YouTube under Roland Martin's YouTube page, on Facebook under Roland Martin as well. What are your conversations? What are your thoughts? What are your questions as we talk about this major unity rally here in Los Angeles for peace, love, and reparations? Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
All momentum we have now We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been having a conversation about reparations. Peace, love, and reparations is going to be the mantra this weekend here in Los Angeles as reparations advocacy groups come together to host a unity rally in historic Leimert Park in South LA to continue to advocate for the cause of reparations, making sure that we have a path forward on seeking justice for the past pain that was done to us and our people and continue to hold on us since our time in chattel slavery. And so individuals such as my two esteemed guests, Sister Tara Perry and Brother Cam Howard, have decided to come together in spite of their ideological differences to host this space and to have a conversation, and most importantly, bringing folks together to around the issue of reparations. Now, if you have not heard, California is one of the top states that is leading the way for reparations, as they have all here in the state of California. There has already been a task force that has been created by Governor Gavin Newsom that look at the impact of slavery on Black Californians and to see if what can be done, what type of justice can be given to those families. Now, the task force has done an extensive amount of work, talking to a number of community members. They have pulled data, and they had submitted their final report already, and they are on their way to presenting their findings to the California State Legislature, to the governor. And so there is a real momentum here in the city of Los Angeles, folks, around this issue. Let me bring Sister Tara Perry back into this, because Tara, you have some folks that are part of the task force. They're going to be there. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who is one of the congresswomen who have decided to keep this fight or this conversation going in Congress, she's planning to be here. The California Secretary of State is planning to make an appearance at this rally. So what does it look like right now? Where are we in the latest developments around the work of the California Task Force, and even addressing Gavin Newsom, the governor, who said that the reparations conversation, it's not about money. I saw this in the latest online maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He said, this is not about money. We're doing all that we can to address these grievances. But the money is out of the question. So how are we moving forward on this?
I don't think he said money's out of the question, but I haven't seen that article.
I'm gonna show it. Yeah, no problem.
Please send that to me. So
yeah,
I know there are a lot of people who try to avoid the backlash, right? And there's no excuse for that, right? The reason we're having this rally is we want people to say it with their chests, right? We need people to stop being afraid of the conversation of reparations. It's not just Gavin Newsom; it's also the Democratic Party as a whole, right? They're like, that's the word. They're not talking about reparations yet. One of their biggest voting base is Black America. So how do you avoid that conversation? So we need to bring it back to them. Your first question was
about the work of the California Reparations Task Force.
Right, thank you. So the California Reparations Task Force, I think they did a great job, right? So now we're in the phase where they take the findings in their final report, and it's not the task force. Now their job is completed, but now the California legislature will draft legislation around the findings, and then it should be shopped in the legislature, and then eventually voted and passed. Hopefully, right? That's ideally how it should be working. But we're not sure how long that's going to take. Two of the elected members who were on the task force are turning out, and they're running for other seats. So we have to keep the public engaged and let the public not forget about this. We cannot be just satisfied with this beautiful book that came out of the task force, but there is follow-up work that needs to follow behind what they've completed. And it can't just be left in the laps of the elected officials who are leaving, but we're going to have to stay on top of the people who are now elected into those seats. We're hoping that Sidney Kamlager will step forward, or State Senator newly elected Lola Smallwood-Cuevas, right? So we have to identify these people, and we have to make sure that we're staying on them as a community. We cannot just keep doing this work of the select 5, 10, 15, 20 people. We have to actually come together as a community and be forceful with our voices.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brother Cam, I want to bring you back into this. On a national level, the way that California is moving, we got Brother Cam, I want to make sure, there we go. Brother Cam, on a national level, the way California is moving with the creation of this task force and just the whole process, is this the model that should be duplicated in other states to get the ball rolling? I know that there's some talk of creating a task force for the state of New York, for example. Should California be used as the model, or should each state try to figure out its own way of doing this?
So each state is going to figure out their own way, but California should be the model legislation, because the California legislation, AB 3121, was taken directly out of most of the wording, the findings and purpose was taken out of the federal bill, HR 40. So if states around the country would adopt the legislation that California adopted, which is the federal legislation, and they're going to do their own independent thing, because their harms and crimes and injuries are going to be different, although a lot of it's going to be the same, because the same thing happened to us all around the country. So I believe that the more states utilize the federal legislation as a base, it propels the federal government to act even more, because for a long time, the leaders in America who are against reparations, in particular, one particular leader who's advised 7 presidents on reparations, a Jewish leader who's against Black reparations, the California Reparations Task Force answered all of the questions that he said were unanswerable. And so the more states adopt the federal legislation, as California did, then we put an end to all the contentious voices in white America that says that reparations cannot be accomplished because it's too difficult.
And Brother Cam, what do we say? Because I'm looking at this piece, the California Reparations Task Force, they put together this 1,100-page report. It was reported that in that report, they have identified 100 statewide proposals to 100 statewide policies to address generations of discrimination and racial disparities. But the number, there has not been a dollar amount. And I think initially, a few months ago, we saw that there was a talk about the money of over $1 billion that should be paid to Black Californians. But in this report coming from the task force, they didn't emphasize money. So how do what's going on with that situation?
So in the federal legislation, in the AB 31 legislation, compensation was supposed to be looked at, and it was looked at. And it was supposed to determine what forms of compensation. Compensation is not just cash. It can be other forms, but the findings or the requirement was that they look at the various forms of compensation that could be administered. But they also supposed to look at a number of other injuries and harms that have faced Black Californians, and they did so. And so I think maybe 4 or 5 other proposals dealt with compensation, and the balance of the 100 plus more dealt with other forms of injury that Black Californians face. This country, white America, is going to always be opposed to compensation. However, it is international law that compensation is a form of reparations, and that's why we wrote that into the federal legislation, again, which was adopted in California. For that to be true and full reparations, they're going to have to deal with the issue of compensation. But that's going to be a tremendous fight, as Tara stated. It's going to be a tremendous fight for you to move the entire reparations proposal package forward there in California. But the more arduous fight is going to be for compensation, because, again, white America does not want to put cash in the hands of Black Americans. And we have to look at ways in which compensation can be more palatable to whites, and it may not come in the form of a cash check, but it may come in the form of grants, or business grants, or things like that, educational grants, so tax relief, things like that. So, we expect struggle to move forward, and we have to poise ourselves for it. And the only way we're going to do it successfully, again, is if we unify as a people on this issue of repair.
Absolutely. And Tara, I think that is the part about this conversation, that there, and like Brother Cam said, there are so many things that could be used as justice, whether you're talking about the issuance of land, for example. And, we had the big situation here in LA around Bruce's Beach, where getting that land back into the hands of our people, of its rightful owners, after the state had that situation taken from a Black family. But it seems like that is still not the crux of this conversation. The crux of this conversation has come down to how much money I'm getting. And look, I'm going to just tell you, be honest with you, I got 2 children. I don't care. I mean, the money is cool, but I want my son to be able to get into an Ivy League. I want to be able to buy some land. I want to be able to build that generational wealth, even if the money isn't there, but to relieve us of all of the red tape, all of the other legislative and legal and all of the other political burdens, to start building that generational wealth. We need to own a piece of this country and not just be the recipients of some cash that may not stay in the hands of Black people for more than a day or so. So,
I agree with you, Farajii, but I think what some people miss is that it's comprehensive. It has to be all of these things, a mixture of it. As we've seen with Bruce's Beach, they got the land back, but do they have the money to develop this land? No, they sold it back to the county. So we have you can get money. I mean, not get money. You can get land, but can you develop that land? Can you do the rezoning that you might need to do to build housing on that? So the county in Bruce's Beach situation, the county was eventually just going to be leasing the land from them because it's been zoned in such a way for public use. They couldn't just take the land back and build a house and have a beachfront house anymore. That wasn't a possibility for them. So they had no choice but to sell the land back. But do we want to put our community in a situation where we're just selling land back to the government who just gave it to us? No, we have to be made whole. Compensation is a part of that. Yes, we need to also get scholarships and access to colleges. But I went to college, and when I came back, it wasn't a 6-figure job waiting for me. So just because we're sending our kids to college, there are still other doors being slammed in their faces. So we can't
So Tara, that brings up to the next question.
It's comprehensive.
Right. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it just sparked something in me as I'm listening to you. How far does reparation? And I know this is a question that political leadership in this country will ask. Well, okay, fine, we give you a little bit here, but just like you said, doors are still being slammed in our faces. So yes, you might get a free ride to a college of your choice, but then once you get out of college after that 4-year or 5-year period, now you're back at like square one. So for us on the side of advocating for some sort of redress, how far should we expect that situation to go? How much time should reparations cover if we're talking about at least trying to address the systemic ill?
Well, like you said, that's a much larger conversation, but it's just like in creating the wound, right? Like Malcolm said, just because you pull the knife out of my back, it doesn't heal me, right? It's gonna take a certain amount of time for that wound to heal. So if it's just the first 20 years, if it's 70 years, if it's 100 years, then that's what it needs to be. But that is why we have these task force that are coming together to not only examine the harm, examine how far the gap is, how long will it take to truly close those gaps. If you go to Cal Matters, they actually did a calculation based on the harms that were categorized by the California Reparations Task Force. There's health harms, mass incarceration, over-policing, housing discrimination, devaluation of businesses, and unjust property takings, right? So each harm, it has a certain dollar amount attached to it based on the amount of years that you've been in California. So if anyone wants to go to Cal Matters and check out their reparations calculation or calculator, that will help kind of give people an idea. And I believe like someone who's been in California for 70 years could qualify for the max of $1.3 million. That's what that redress could look like in just California, right? So that person would still be entitled to national reparations once that's done on a national scale. So we're not saying $3 million is it. The harms that our people have undergone are extensive and they're continuous. And so we have to not be afraid to do the work to repair us.
No, we can't be at all. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. And when we come forward, we're going to have more conversations because just as much as we're talking about reparations for Black folks, Tara, we know California is a multiracial, multi-ethnic state. Does this open the conversation for indigenous communities, for Latino and Black Hispanic communities? I had a sister on here last week to talk to us about how there are brothers and sisters within the brown community who are advocating for reparations for Black folks. So where do they fit in this larger conversation of reparations and possibly seeing if we're going to see some level of representation or some sort of acknowledgement of those indigenous communities that have helped to build California as it is today. So we're going to have that conversation on the other side. Folks, continue to post your comments as we're talking to Tara Perry. We've been talking to Brother Cam Howard, and I want to get your thoughts. I want to get some of your comments from this as well. So stay with us, folks. A lot more to talk about as we talk about peace, love, and reparations here in California, here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We have been talking about peace, love, and reparations. This is the big unity rally that's going to be held here in Los Angeles and the historic Leimert Park. And this is a rally that's going to be happening this Saturday, kicking off at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time this Saturday, ending around 6 o'clock p.m. or whenever Black folks like to go home, right, Tara? We talk about
like y'all need them for dark.
need to leave the park. I'm not telling you to go home, but you gotta get the hell out of here. But there's going to be a major rally, folks, where there's going to be including voices from the California Reparations Task Force, congressional state leaders. We're also talking about entertainers. The Game, who is an LA native, is going to be headlining the performances along with Rotimi and Eric Benet and a lot of other folks that are going to be on hand to celebrate and, more importantly, continue to keep the momentum going around the conversation about reparations, as California is looking to really redefine how states handle the call for reparations. So, and I hope we can finally get my brother Cam Howard back on, because I know technical difficulties, but hopefully we can get him back on for the final few minutes. But I do want to share, Tara, what a lot of our culture crew members are saying about this. There's a little debate about the whole lineage piece and all of that. And we know that that is present. We talked about that. But I think a lot of people are like Miss Goddess K checked it and say, I think we are ready to be united. Miss Goddess K, I agree with you 1000%. I think we can get past all of the differences, the ideological differences, to keep folks on track. Because guess what? At the end of the day, Tara, you've been working in Black spaces for years, just like I have. Sometimes the smallest things can throw off the whole situation. And we got some momentum going around this. As much as people may not like how the task force did their job or whether they are asking for enough, and I know some folks are saying like programs is not reparation, but we're working within the confines of a given system. And I think we need to be realistic and have a realistic goal in mind as to what that actually means. What does that actually look like? When we're talking about redressing the discrimination and the racist policies from every element of our life, whether you talk about housing, health care, labor, education, all of these things, they have to be addressed in a way that, one, that fits our interests, but two, in a way that the state can really implement these things. So I want to get your take on this very quickly, like the approach of proposing programs and other system-wide changes versus just asking for a complete abolishment of other institutions. What's your take on that?
Abolishment of other institutions like prisons?
Yeah, people might say, oh, I need prisons. People might say, no, we don't need the police department. You know what I mean? Just like very big ideas versus.
Like, I think community policing is definitely necessary. Like,
yeah,
we need people who are going to keep us safe, who live in our community, whether those people are joining the police force or whether we're creating our own security force within our communities. But that is organizing that needs to be done. There needs to be a level of public safety. Does it need to be implemented and funded by the government that has historically oppressed us? It doesn't have to be, but that has been the structure we've been used to. So a lot of people are afraid of deviating from what we've always done, and they kind of shy away from doing anything that's very much revolutionary or hasn't necessarily been done before.
Right.
In these spaces. So I'm very much a proponent of community safety.
Right.
From us patrolling our own streets and not necessarily having outsiders do it. No.
And are you a huge advocate of policy changes rather than, something's more, I don't know, something much more drastic and bigger than that? Because some people might say policy changes aren't enough.
I think it depends on the policy, but policy changes can be enough. It depends on which policies.
Right.
Like we have, although California we're not an open carry state, but because we're not an open carry state, and of course this could be controversial, right? But because we're not an open carry state, we have police who can shoot Black men because they think they have guns or they might have a gun, right? But if we were an open carry state, there would be a different level of requirement for the police to investigate further because it's an open carry state. So I think having California not be an open carry state, it does put Black men at risk, right? So that may be unpopular, especially to stay in a blue state, but those are ramifications of a policy change. When we had the 1967 Mulford Act implemented because the Black Panthers went to the state capitol and they were armed, that changed real quick, right?
Mm.
That's a policy change that has had a negative impact on Black lives. So if it were to be reversed, or if there was something else that was put into place, it could help keep us safe. I think changing policy absolutely can work. It depends on the policies. Now, there's a lot of work based on probation reform and things like that, but there's nothing really challenging the fact that the criminal justice system exists. Why are these Black men creating crimes at such a high levels? That is something that reparations could truly heal. But people don't talk about the economic disadvantages, which is a driver into crime, and why our jails and our prisons are exploding with Black men. No one wants to.
Absolutely.
People like to do the soft side. Well, let's give them less probation, but they still being sent to jail. But they're still economically disadvantaged, but they're still unhoused. There's still 70% of the homeless in downtown LA, but yet they're only 8%, 4% of LA County's Black population. That's a huge disparity. People don't want to ask those questions and do that work. But we have policy changes so we can get the resources to Black people so that we can actually make these changes in our community. Not just put a ban on it.
No, I totally agree. And where does the indigenous community fit into this? Like you have in California, you have Latino, Hispanic community members and I'm talking about Black Hispanics, Afro-Latino. There's an Afro-Latino community here in the city of Los Angeles and throughout the LA County area. Where do they fit in this? Are they a part of this conversation, or is that something that this particular rally is planning to address, to have that level of representation there, or where do you see them fitting into this?
I mean, I think that's a conversation. There was an actual commission created for Native American redress, right, in 1946. So that's a question for them. But my thing is that every time we're having conversations about Black people and Black advancement, we always have to talk about someone else. No one's talking about us when it comes to their issues, and it's no problem for me. But my thing is that whenever Black issues are being platformed, people always want to pivot to someone else. And I think it's important for us to say it with our chest, speak about what our needs are for our community, and be unapologetic about that. And I'm okay with that. And I support any other group who's been harmed by the United States government and has a case and can present that case. But I don't always want to allow people to constantly springboard off of what Black Americans are doing and then leave us high and dry, because we've always organized and helped other folks, but it's not always reciprocated.
Let me just share with you just a couple of what the crew members are saying, and we're going to take a final pause. Eric Edward Adams, you said they filed their own claim is where they fit, talking about indigenous communities. They filed their own claim is where they fit. Throwing money at a problem is not going to solve anything at all. This is a culture problem, not a money problem. You are basically putting a price on Black lives. What's your take on that, Tara?
I mean, I think that the culture, the white supremacist culture, has created the culture problems, right? And which also comes with economic disadvantage. So we can start actually participating in group economics once we get reparations. We can own certain companies. We can own grocery stores. We can actually start providing, creating industry in our community that we don't have. Because we've been economically disadvantaged. So it opens up so many more doors once we do get reparations. It's not just putting a price tag on Black lives. It's about providing the resources that have been denied to us for centuries. And
absolutely.
We instead of inheriting wealth, we've been inheriting poverty every generation, and it's gotten worse. If you think about it, Black people are the first homeless people in America, released from the plantations to wander about and figure it out. So there's a lot of healing work that needs to be done. It's not just money, right? There is healing that needs to be done, but we have to provide the people with the resources to do that work.
Absolutely. We got to take another pause. When we come back, final thoughts from Tara Perry as she's talking about organizing the big unity rally here in Los Angeles around peace, love, and reparations. Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side on the culture and the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. In the final few moments, as we've been talking about peace, love, and reparations, a big unity rally here in Los Angeles scheduled for this Saturday in Leimert Park in South LA. And we got my sister Tara Perry that's been joining us, talking to us about this very, very highly layered conversation of reparation. We were joined earlier by Brother Cam Howard, who is an international scholar on reparations. And my man, Willie Frazier, and I want to bring Tara back into the frame on this, but my man, Willie Frazier, Tara, he checked in and he was like, basically, he made the point. He said, if you haven't been doing no real work, you ain't putting in that grind, you ain't putting in that sweat equity about this, you need to just shut your mouth until you roll up your sleeve and you get involved. And big shout out to Willie for making that point, because I think that's the part of the conversation. Like, the purpose of us having these discussions, and I've been having these discussions trying to keep people informed about what's going on with this case, not just in California, but across the country, is to let folks know that this is an ongoing battle, Tara. This is an ongoing battle and has a lot of different complexities to the conversation. So it's not just about a one-shot deal. It's not this and not that. Some of us are caught up on the lineage thing. Some of us are caught up on the issues thing. Some of us are caught up on the cash thing. But this is an ongoing conversation. And as a community and as a people and as a small nation within a nation, we need to have some deeper discussions, because this right here, this is one of the few issues I can say confidently is going to set the tone for the future of our children for years to come. So as we look at this rally and as we close out the show today, but looking at this rally, have you had an opportunity to really think about the magnitude, the significance of not just the efforts that you're doing, but the work that you're involved in?
Well, this isn't my first event, right? We went to DC and we were pushing for reparations when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden went into office. And just to set the tone, we gave them a list of demands for the Black community, right? We've done multiple events for reparations. Now, having the funding for us to get these big name artists to draw out people, I think there is an opportunity to have a major impact, but not just in crowd turnout, but involvement of the community, right? Because when you're organizing in these spaces, you tend to know the same people. You tend to see the same folks in the circle, but this is an opportunity to actually bring the work to the people and bring more people into it. Because a lot of people don't really know where to get started and what to do and how they can help. And so this is an opportunity to not just unify the movement, create safe spaces to have these uncomfortable conversations and to move forward. How are we going to move forward? How are we bring people in? What are people comfortable doing? What are people comfortable not doing? A lot of people they claim to be proponents of reparations, and not everyday people, but I mean like media outlets, right? Very hot button issue. People like to talk about it, but they're not serious about it, right? You're the first person, and we appreciate you, right? Giving us the platform to actually speak about our event. But when you're seeing all these other major outlets who want to drop reparations here and there, they wouldn't touch it. They wouldn't touch it because they don't intend on Black Americans getting serious about reparations. Are we serious?
I mean, no, we definitely serious, and I appreciate that. And I think it's just because I think the reparations conversation is an evolution of where we are in the culture. I think, and for a sister like you, Tara, we're young, we're still babies in the game, so to speak, right? Like because even though we've dedicated our lives to this work, the fact remains that there are so many people that we have to go and inform and to raise up their consciousness about these issues, right? And I think that that's what makes us the link in the chain. So we do have to have these conversations, and it doesn't matter like how much time we have to have. We're going to keep having these conversations, Tara, until our people understand. I'm cool. I can recognize the differences. Mm-hmm. But I'm the type of guy, and I was always the type of organizer that's just like, all right, we can have differences, but what are we going to do next? Right. Well, how are we going to push this thing forward? Because the thing that the enemy of our rise always wants from us is to be so caught up in the differences that we don't have no real action. We don't move nothing forward.
And that's another reason why we're doing this. I've found that there are too many people more invested in the fight. In the infighting, the internal, versus getting the work done. Like I can have disagreements with Cam all day, but we will still come to a consensus and move forward toward a common goal. And we still know that even with the different groups or different philosophies, the common goal is still reparations. How we go about it still needs to be ironed out, but we need to create that space so we can have these conversations. Because right now we're not really talking to each other, just me and Cam, but everybody else we ain't talking.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Y'all ain't talking to each other, but y'all talking to us. And so I hope that the culture crew, my crew, will be talking to each other. All right, very quickly, Tara, what's the best place so that people can get all the information about this weekend's rally?
This weekend's rally, you can go to BlackPact, BlackPact.org to get more general information about this Saturday's event. But also, if you're not in Los Angeles, you can stream in, buy a ticket. I think they're like $10 at reparationsunited.org. That's Cam's website, and buy a virtual ticket. If you're not going to watch it, do it anyway so you can support the cause, right? We have to start getting in a space where we are politically tithing, because we're the only group who's not doing it. And we have to actually fund our politics. So I think That's the best approach for it.
Hey, look, I'm putting this video out on my social media. Crew, I'm asking y'all to put the video out on your social media. Let's really talk about it. This is probably one of the few events that actually bring both sides of the conversation, or all the various sides of the conversation, to the table, to the same space at the same time. We've got some state legislators that's going to be on hand. California task force representatives going to be on hand. And guess what? Who's going to be on hand? The people. Thousands of people are expected at historic Leimert Park. It's still sunny days in Los Angeles, so God willing, he'll be looking upon us very, very well to keep the weather good for us on Saturday. But Tara, I want to thank you so much for your time, and most importantly for your continued work in this space. I want to thank Brother Cam Howard for the great work that he's doing. And you and Brother Cam, y'all got spaces on this platform under the culture, because we want to continue the conversation all the way through. So thank you so much, and more importantly, thank you for being so good for the culture, Tara.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
There we go. There we go. All right, folks. That's going to do it for us. Crew, make sure y'all do your due diligence. Support us. If this is your first time watching this is your 101st time, we always ask you for your support. Because guess what? Nobody is going to fund this type of conversation. Nobody is going to do what we need to do for us. So we got to do it ourselves. So make sure you go to blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com for financial donations you can give. But also download the app for free on all of your devices. And most importantly, let your friends and family know that they can tune into these fantastic shows, these great programs, our streaming programs. Something is always happening in Black America. And here at Black Star Network, we're doing our part to make sure that we bring the news straight to you in a way that you could be a part of it. And more importantly, you can stay informed about what's going on. So go to blackstarnetwork.com. Also follow us on social media at Black Star Network as well. Follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. I'm loving it, crew. Y'all have sent me emails and y'all sent me videos and all of that. I love the connection. Let's continue to build a community. Hit me up at The Real Farajii on Instagram, Farajii on Twitter, Farajii on Facebook, Farajii Muhammad on Facebook, and let's continue to build the community. All right, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you. I thank my dynamic team. I thank Maddie, Joel. I thank Shannon, and of course, my man King Keenan for making me look and sound so good. Stay tuned, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Brother Roland Martin with RMU Unfiltered. Got my sister Reese Cobra. She might be cussing somebody out today. Big shout out to Reese and all the family on RMU. All right, as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, exclusively here, only here, the Black Star Network. Talk to you soon, family. Peace.